श्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So in yesterday's session, last two sessions, we discussed about who am I? I am spirit soul, and we also discussed about some of the proofs for the existence of soul. So can somebody just revise what are the different proofs for the existence of soul? We discussed several points yesterday. Can you just try to recollect some of the points? Just to quickly revise. So what are the proofs for the existence of soul? I showed you many videos about that.
Instances of remembering past life.
Yes, instances of people remembering past life. Correct. We learned about Shukla's story, and also we learned about the pilot who reincarnated himself from the Second World War. He reincarnated himself as a small
body experiences.
Okay, out of body experiences. Correct. Yes. Anybody else would like to share any other proof? So till now we had past life memories, out of body experiences. Shiva is writing, when somebody dies, we say he's gone. Yeah, that's correct. So who has gone? The soul has gone. So Shiva is correct. That's called common sense. Correct.
Near death experience.
Near death experience. So near death experience is the experience where when a person is close to death, he sees some strange people coming him and picking him up and wanting to take him to a different place. So that's called as near death experience. If he's sinful, he'll see some ferocious people, which in Vedic literature are called as Yamadutas. They come. And if he's a very good man, pious man, then Devatas will come to pick him up. Heavenly people will come to pick him up. So that's called near death experience. Okay. So what else? So we also had two more points. One is about consciousness is a symptom of soul, and phobias, fear of water, fear of sharp weapons, fear of height. So that's because of past experiences that they have got fear. Jay Chandrasekhar is telling consciousness. That's correct. And also twins. Twins have same DNA but different nature. So the difference in nature is because of two different souls in the two different bodies. Okay. So these are the points. Okay. So now we'll start with the session. I'll share the screen. The topic is, does God exist? So what do you feel? Does God really exist? How many of you feel God must really exist? You can just, there's one tick mark. You can just tick it, or you can say yes. Yes. In the Zoom there will be one point called tick. Yes. Some of you are raising their hands. Correct. So some of you already have faith in God, and some are doubtful. Some questions. Okay. So today we'll present you some points. It is pure logic and observation. I'm not going to speak any Shastra. And based on this pure logic and observation, you can try to come to a conclusion whether God exists or no at the end of this session. So I'll ask this question again at the end of this session, and then you can choose what your option you feel like. So does God really exist? So this person you see here, he's having a telescope and is trying to find out God. And some people say God is up. So if you see up, can you see God? Right. Some astronauts have gone up in the sky. They have gone to space station also, and they didn't find God, and they came back and said God does not exist. right? But is this the way to see God? Is this the means to see God? Can you see God with telescope? No. We cannot even see distant stars also with telescope, right? So how can we see God with the telescope? It's not possible. But let's try to see, based by observing the nature, let's try to see the hand of God behind them. First point. See, these are the 6 points I'll be discussing. Artistry implies artist, beautiful organization implies organizer, creation creator, design designer, energy energetic, flawless lawless lawmaker. A, B, C, D, E, F. So these 6 points I'll mention today. First thing, you know, all these are famous photographs. This first one is Mona Lisa, and the painter is Leonardo da Vinci, very famous. And this painting is very famous because of the smile of Mona Lisa, a very charming smile, and this portrait sells for millions of dollars. And this landscape, Juan Gorard, he painted it. Thomas Sanchez, he painted this waterfall, and Henry Rossio painted this flower vase. So these paintings are very costly and they sell for millions of dollars. Now, these portraits need some painter, but they have drawn these portraits seeing the original, isn't it? They might have, there was a lady called Mona Lisa, and there is a landscape. You go to Western Ghats, you go to Himalayas, you'll find beautiful landscapes and waterfalls, and seeing them, they have drawn the sketches. Now, if sketches sell at such a costly price, and they need a creator, they need an artist, doesn't the original also need an artist? So that's the question. Can this original scenery come by chance? Like people go to, some of you must have gone to Rameshwaram, the sunset point. So many people go there just to click photos of the sunset point. The crimson orange color, sun is setting, and everywhere there is reddish hue, orange hue, and people are going and clicking photos. It's so beautiful. And the photos of that sunset sell at thousands of rupees, isn't it? So, shouldn't that have a creator? Isn't it? That's the question. Even to make an artificial flower like this, paper flower, we need a paper, we need a glue, we need scissor, and we need an artist. And this combination makes a flower. But the difference is this flower will not have fragrance. Maybe you have to put some scent on it, then it will be fragrant. But this flower, which you see here, cannot produce further flowers. But if the rose flower, which you get from nature, the seeds of the rose plant can produce further rose plants and further trees. See the design in the nature. Man fails to implement this design. So if an artificial flower requires a creator, why not the original flower, which is so complex? And how that original flower is coming? It's magic actually. The original flower is coming from mud. You put the seed in the mud, and the mud transforms into a sapling, and the sapling grows, it becomes a bush, and from there comes flower. So the same mud and water transform into a flower, and you can give fragrance and you can offer it to the Lord and keep on your head, isn't it? So this is the magic. So you can see magic in nature every day, every moment, only if we have the eyes to see it, right? So the conclusion is artistry implies there must be an artist. Let's go to the next point. Beautiful organization implies an organizer. Right? I'll show a video of honeybees, how they have such wonderful organization. Okay, are you able to see? I'll play this video now.
Bees are called social insects because they live and work together as a community. Thousands of female bees, called worker bees, live together in a hive with a queen bee. The queen bee was marked with a red dot, so we can see her better. The worker bees are all females, but they almost never lay eggs. Worker bees do almost all the chores in the hive. They gather pollen or nectar, guard the entrance, clean the hive, build the comb, make honey, tend the queen, and feed the larvae. They even fan the hive with their wings to keep it cool on a hot summer day.
Isn't it wonderful? So these honeybees have not gone to school. They have not done any formal education, but still they know what is their duty. The queen knows what is her duty. The soldiers, they know what is their duty, to guard, because they have got some sharp stings on them by which they can guard. And the workers, they know that they have to collect honey and they have to tend the queen and also make the hive. So now who gave them the intelligence to do such wonderful organization? So that's amazing. Means they have got some inbuilt knowledge in their mind, which somebody has given by birth, and everybody knows. Right? All the bees know, not even bees, even the lizards, even the snakes, even human child. As soon as they are born, they look for food, and as soon as the lizard sees a tiny fly, immediately it eats. Even the newborn human baby, when the mother keeps on the lap, immediately he knows how to suck the milk. Right? So these are the this is the knowledge which is already built in them. So who gave that knowledge? So that's the question. Let me show another video of spider. You see, such an amazing engineer is this spider.
Mathematician spiders. Compared to their own sizes, spiders build very large webs. Indeed, if we enlarged a spider to the size of a human being, the length of the web it weaves would be approximately 150 meters, which corresponds to a 50-story skyscraper. Is it possible for a human being to weave a wastework the size of a 50-story skyscraper in only an hour? But a tiny spider accomplishes much more than that. Moreover, the spider-woven web is the sturdiest material in the world. How do spiders weave these webs possessing miraculous features? The spider takes into consideration many factors while weaving a web, hundreds of times larger than its own size. This task demands at least some calculations essential in constructing a building. For the accomplishment of this work, first the spider must draw a project like an architect, for a construction of this size, design, and sturdiness cannot be accomplished without an architectural project. Once the project is drawn, the spider must calculate the lifting capacity of each part of the web, like an engineer. Otherwise, the web cannot remain suspended. In order to design such a web and make such delicate calculations, the spider must be more qualified than a college graduate. Indeed, there is not a university that provides education to the offspring. Following their birth, they begin to produce silk, weave.
The spiders have not gone. The spiders have not gone to the college. They are not civil engineers, but still they are able to build such a spider web. Right? How is it possible? Means they have got that intelligence by birth. So who has given that intelligence to them? That is the point, isn't it? So God has already given them intelligence by birth to survive. So that basic, just like any mobile or any computer comes with a ROM memory, right? Read-only memory, you cannot change it. Similarly, all of us come with some ROM, how to eat, how to sleep, how to do basic activities. All that is naturally given to us. So when somebody has given to us, some power has given to us. So that we call as God. So let's go ahead. I have many videos. Maybe I'll share with you on WhatsApp. So I have video of beavers and silkworm and even termites. Now let's go to the next point. Sleek cars. When you see a sleek car, conclusion is somebody has manufactured it. Some nice computer, somebody has assembled it. Elegant watch, someone designed it. Architectural marvels like this Eiffel Tower, somebody erected it. Skyscraper buildings, someone built it. Wonderful sculptures, someone carved it. Like the Shivaji, wonderful sculpture, right? So it means what? Whenever you see some creation, there should be a creator. So nothing has come by chance, right? Can this come by chance? Can this come by chance? No. There's a whole team involved behind this. So creation should have a creator. Right? So here you see this tree. This is called giant Sycamore tree. See, the human beings are standing here below. This is their height. And see the height of this tree. So very tall. The world's largest tree is a giant Sycamore. It is 84 meters high, means 275 feet high, and 29 meters, 95 feet in diameter at the trunk. That's 29 meters, means what? Our hands, if you stretch it, is about 1.5 meters. It means you require almost 25 people to hold that tree round. Such big is the diameter. So there's diameter. Circumference will be much more. And many grown-up men are required to hold this tree around. Right? And in between the tree, even car can pass. If you cut a hole, car can also pass between the tree. Such big it is. So who and how this tree has come up? From a tiny seed. The seed is so small, but such a giant tree has come. Even if you see banyan tree in India, banyan tree, the seed is small, but a huge tree comes up. Right? So who gave that intelligence to the seed to produce such a wonderful, magnificent, tall tree? Right? Let's see about the brain. The brain can store more information than all the libraries in the world. Dr. Richard Restek, MD, author, the brain. So the brain, it can store information from all the world's libraries. That much power it is got. It is said that we hardly use some 5 to 6% of the brain. That's all. Most of the brain is unused. It's very, very powerful. Since childhood, whatever we have done, we can remember it. Right? We can remember here and there. And if you have sharp memory, we can remember finer details also. Right? So that much power the brain has got. It's like a supercomputer. Let's see the DNA. So the DNA has got ATGC. You can see here ATGC. This combination of 4 molecules can produce the entire human genome. It's called genome, means the genetic code of the human being. So by taking the genetic code, we can find out what are the characteristics of a person. Right? So generally, some scientists say that the cause of human being is the DNA. So the DNA replications produces new cells, and those new cells make us they maintain our health, isn't it? Like that. So if DNA is the cause of our health and our nature, but who made the DNA? That's the question. Just by combination of these 4 molecules and such complex genetic code, we can determine the characteristics of a person. So who made that DNA which is self-replicating? That is the question, right? And next is Fibonacci series. I'll show a video here that requires a video. God's fingerprint. Okay.
Around 12.
So this is also interesting video. Kindly observe it carefully.
100 AD, a man named Leonard Pisano, better known as Fibonacci, discovered a sequence of numbers that created a very interesting pattern. The sequence begins with the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and continues indefinitely. Each number is obtained by adding the last 2 digits together. A rectangle with the length and width of any 2 of the numbers of this sequence forms what is known as the golden rectangle. a perfect rectangle. A golden rectangle can be broken down into squares the size of the next Fibonacci numbers down and below. If we were to take a perfect or golden rectangle, break it down into smaller squares based on Fibonacci sequence, and divide each with an arc, the patterns begin to take shape. We begin to see Fibonacci's spiral. The spiral in and of itself is insignificant. Its importance is revealed in where we find it. Take, for example, the sunflower. The display of its florets are in perfect spirals of 55, 34, and 21. The sequence of Fibonacci. The fruitlets of the pineapple create the same spiral based on the sequence. The pine cone does the same. As currents move through the ocean and the tide rolls onto the shore, the waves that bring in the tide curve into a spiral that can be mathematically diagrammed onto a plot at the points 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and 55. Buds on trees, sand dollars, starfish, petals on flowers, and especially the nautilus shell are formed with this exact same blueprint. With each segment of growth, the nautilus adds to itself one more value on Fibonacci's scale. This blueprint can be seen around us on a small scale every day, but the greatest example of all is directly above our heads. At an average of 100,000 light years across, even the spiral of the galaxies above us are formed with the exact design that the tiny shell is formed. This sequence, or blueprint, appears to be the trademark of a designer, a proof of a creator, something left behind, indicating the one who was there, a fingerprint. As we scan our universe, from the tiny flower to the awe-inspiring galaxy, we see the fingerprint of God.
So, Hare Krishna. So if you understood the video, please type yes in the chat box. Okay. Were you able to follow the video? Okay, thank you. Google says yes, Rohit says yes, Gupnan says yes, Ravi says yes, yes. Okay, thank you. So most of you understood the video. Okay, so one person needs some explanation. Okay. So Fibonacci series is a sequence of numbers, and if you make the Fibonacci spiral by rectangle and this Fibonacci spiral, then the spiral can be seen everywhere, even in the seashell, even in the cosmos, even in your hand, right? That Fibonacci sequence is there. There's 1, 1, right? 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, like this, the whole thing is there. So that sequence is obeyed in the nature, even in a sunflower, even in a pineapple. So that sequence is seen. Means what? That's like a fingerprint. Like if you see a car, suppose it's made of Tata. So you see the Tata logo there on the car. If you see another car with the same logo, what you will see? Hey, these two cars, same owner. Similarly, if you go and see, if you go and purchase Tata SIM, Jio SIM, they're also written Tata. Oh, same owner. Similarly, if you go to some other thing and you purchase another Tata product, it means same owner. So the point is, if everywhere you can see this same logo, which indicates the same owner. So same fingerprint is seen in nature, in the water, in the sky, in the shells, in the flowers. And the designer is one. That is same God has designed everything. Okay, so it means that there is no different creators. Only one creator is there for all the natural things in this world. That's what it indicates. Okay, so let's go ahead. So even to put one satellite in the space, we have to monitor the orientation, the spin, the velocity of the satellite, orbit decay corrections, cosmic radiations, because sun gives a lot of radiations which can spoil the satellite heat dissipation, Earth satellite distance, all this has to be monitored to maintain it in space. But Earth, the weight of which is 6 into 10 to the power of 21 metric tons. And satellite may weigh about few tons only. But his Earth is so big, and Earth is going around the sun. The sun is here, the Earth is here, it's going around at the speed of 106,000 kilometers per hour. But so at such a high speed, and there are many other planets also going around the sun. I don't see any collision happening. So who is controlling? So that's the question. Who is controlling such thing? And not only that, the Earth also has got moon, which is like the satellite. So who is controlling the movements of the moon and the Earth and the sun? So that's the question. So there's a design. Somebody has designed all these things, isn't it? So who's the designer? There should be some designer, isn't it? So when you see the design in this world, the Fibonacci design, so the architectural designs and the solar system designs, it means there should be a designer. It cannot be by chance. So next point. The sun is emitting such high energy. Energy emitted by sun in 1 second, energy emitted by in 1 second is greater than the amount of energy consumed by human race throughout the entire history till now. That much amount of energy it is exhibiting. Now one may ask the question, how the sun is emitting energy? It's because of nuclear fusion. Two hydrogens combine to form a helium, and heliums combine to form further atoms. So that fusion is causing this energy. Now, if you have if you've seen a nuclear reactor, it's not so easy to manage a nuclear reactor because it's very risky. Little bit inattention, little bit leakage, many people can die. So it has to be in a very controlled setting, right? But if you see the sun, nuclear fusion is happening all the time, and it's right above our head. And the energy which we are getting from the nuclear fusion is coming and touching us, but we are still safe. It means what? That nuclear fusion in the sun is controlled reactions. Who is controlling that reaction and how? That's the question. And nuclear fusion requires tremendous energy to start the fusion. To fuse two atoms is not easy. You need energy. And when you fuse them, the energy which is liberated from that fusion can produce a chain reaction. So who caused the first nuclear fusion? That's the question. Right? So energy implies energetic. There must be some person who is providing this energy to the sun and is controlling the reactions in the sun. So that is energetic personality. Now let's come to the next point. We are discussing A, B, C, D, E, and F. We are coming to the last point. So now every college has got a timing, right? It starts at 9:30 a.m. and ends at 4 p.m. or something like that. So who made this law? The principal of the college. And we also have this class at 7 o'clock. Every time 7 o'clock dot, the class starts. How? Because we have planned it. Somebody has planned for it, isn't it? Similarly, there are traffic rules. In India, you have to drive on the left. In America, you have to go on the right side. Right? So this rule is there. So who has made this rule? The traffic police of that government, that country has made the rule. Has got rules, right? Imagine a game without rules. How it will be? It will be so funny. And people will do anything and everything in the game. So the game should have a rule. So the ICC, International Cricket Council, has made the set of rules. There should be 2 batsmen. There should be 11 fielders, and there should be 1 wicket keeper and 1 umpire. So 2 umpires. So that rule has been made, and how to play, that's also made. So then only there is fun. So the cricket also requires a lawmaker, right? School traffic requires laws. School requires a law. Even periodic law, right? We call it as a periodic table or periodic law. Even atoms also obey the rules. In physics also we have laws. And Newton, one apple fell on him. Is Newton sitting here? An apple fell, and he asked, how did the apple fall? Why didn't it go up? It should have gone up. It fell down only. Means something is pulling it. Then he discovered the law of gravity. Right? It is not Newton's law of gravity. It is God's law of gravity as discovered by Newton. Right? So when you kick a ball, it comes down like this. Why? Because of gravity. Laws of optics, reflection, refraction, all these optics are there. Isn't it? Laws of thermodynamics, right? Heat transmission, so it's all there. So all these laws are there. Means who made the law? There must be a lawmaker behind them. Because nothing can happen by chance. See, the laws of physics, thermodynamics, and all are made by some lawmaker. So that's God. Now, if all these things are laws, now let's come to this point. Somebody is born very beautiful, somebody is born ugly, somebody is handsome, somebody is not so handsome. He is very stinking rich, he is a beggar. He becomes educated doctor, but he is illiterate coolie, laborer. Now, is this by chance or is there a law governing this also? It is something very practical question. Is this by chance or is it by law? And if everything happens by law, like we saw so many things behind in the previous slides, if all that is happening by law, how can this be chance? This also obeys a law, and that is the law of karma. So law of karma. Karma means the law of action and reaction. Whatever action you do, you get the reaction. So that action and reaction law is this karma. Karmana deva netrena jantur dehopapatte striya pravishta udaram pumso reta kanashreya. According to one's karma, a soul is put in a particular family, particular mother and father. It's born in that family, right? It's not by chance. So based upon where we are born and the time we are born, we can find out to some degree that what was my karma in the past. But nothing happens by chance. That's why people see the horoscope, because that indicates our past. Okay, so we come to the end of the session. I'll end with 2 shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. Mattah parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaiva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna is giving this analogy in Bhagavad Gita 7.7. Right? How to understand this? For example, many of you must be wearing some beads on the neck or some pearls on the neck. Right? Like I am wearing this Tulsi Mala. Now this Mala is there. We cannot see the thread, but we can see only the beads on it. Isn't it? So the beads are in position which shows that a thread is there. Although we don't see the thread, we can perceive the presence of the thread. Similarly, although you don't see God in this world, God is the common thread behind all these activities. Behind every artistry, there is artist. Behind every beautiful organization, there is organizer. Then the creation implies a creator. Design, behind every design, there is a designer. Energy, there is energetic. Similarly, whenever you see any law, there should be a lawmaker. So these are the points. By understanding this, we can find out that there is a person behind all this. Although the person who is controlling it may not be visible, but we can understand the presence of the controller by these observations. Like we may not have seen Narendra Modi or the Prime Minister of India, right? We have not met him face to face, but he is controlling. If he says, okay, lockdown, full, all India lockdown, immediately everywhere there is lockdown. Although we may not see him physically, but we can see his influence on the country. Similarly, although we don't see the Lord, we can see the influence of the Lord in this world. That's how we can understand the presence of the Lord. And then when we develop a relationship with God, then we can see him and meet him and talk to him. Like if you know somebody very close to Modi, then we can fix an appointment through him and go and meet him. It's possible. Similarly, there is a process of linking it with God, which is called yoga, which we'll discuss in the future sessions. And when you follow that process, then we can connect ourselves to the Supreme Lord. So that's the process. And that's what Krishna is telling here. Although you don't see me, but you can understand the presence of me just like a thread in a pearl necklace. And another shloka, 10.8, he says, Aham sarvasya prabho mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanते मां बुधा भाव समन्विता. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. From me comes everything, and everything rests on me. Krishna is like the foundation on which everything rests. So this is the verse from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so we'll end our today's session. Does God exist? And in tomorrow's session, we'll be discussing about what do the great scientists say about God, right? And how to, and we'll also discuss the story of Newton, and we'll also see how there is a universal government, just like there are laws in this country governing traffic and health and other things. Similarly, there are universal government and universal ministers who are controlling. So we'll learn about those universal ministers and universal government in the next session. Okay. So if you have any questions, we can take some questions now. Yeah, so one dude is asking here, just because some phenomena in nature happen due to some unexplained law, why should they be attributed to existence of an architect or a lawmaker? How does that explain the existence of God? So, see, at least we can understand that there is a lawmaker. So whenever you see some law of karma happening in this world, laws of physics, laws of optics, laws of thermodynamics, these laws are there happening. Means what? Somebody has made these laws. They cannot be by chance. Right? In the next session, we'll discuss some quotations from the great scientists. So somebody, some superpower is controlling these phenomena. So that means that powerful personality is in control. You may call him God, God, or you may call him any name. But first we have to understand that a supreme power exists. So that's what we are discussing this session, right? First thing is to accept that there is a supreme power who is controlling this universe. That is first thing. You may call him by whatever name. Some people call him Krishna, some people call him Rama, some people call him as Allah, some people call him as God, God, right? So, but we should accept that there is one supreme personality, right? So after this session, after hearing all these arguments, how many of you feel that there is a supreme power controlling everything? Right? You can just raise your hands, or you can take yes in your chat box. Okay, Manasa Anirudh says
Prabhuji?
yes. Arshab says yes. Let me just
Prabhuji, I completely lost you there. I suddenly got a call. The audio went off. I could not hear even a single word from your side. It's all right. I'll probably do it ask some other time.
Okay, okay. I'm just taking a poll. How many, after hearing this argument, 6 points, how many of you feel that there should be or there is a power controlling the world? You can just raise your hands. Yeah. Okay. Some 2, 3 of you are raising. Okay. Thank you. Prashant, Arshav, Sitaram. Okay. Others, I think others have finding difficulty putting this thing. Yeah, some are writing in the chat box. They're saying yes, Raghu, Rohit. Yes, there is a power. Yeah, that is basically, that is the point which I wanted to make. First thing is to accept there is a power controlling this verse. Yes, Jai Chandrasekhar. Yeah, Prashant, I'll explain you again right now. So I was telling that Raghavi, thank you for commenting. So most of you, it makes this sense, right? That these 6 arguments make sense, that there is supreme power behind all these things, right? So Prashant, I was telling that although we may not be able to see God, or we call God as God because we are used to calling God as God, but you may call by any name. But at least now can we theoretically accept that yes, there is supreme energy, some energy which is beyond us, controlling the movement of the planets, controlling the physical laws like the optics, like the gravity and other things, and controlling the world, controlling the time, controlling the seasons. Even if you see the seasons, they come periodically. Now it is summer season. It will go for maybe one more month. May not be 1 month, also half a month, and then rainy season will come. Then after 4 months, winter season will come. So every year you see same cycle repeating. So isn't somebody in control, or is it happening by chance? Right? If it's happening by chance, then how can it be controlled? Isn't it? But we see that there is a plan. If there is a plan, there is a plan maker. So it cannot be by chance. So that's the point. At least we can theoretically accept that there is a supreme power which is beyond us, who is controlling these laws in the world. So that's what I was telling Prashant. Yes, at least now theoretically we can accept that there is a supreme power. Now who is that and how is that functioning? What is he? That we will see soon in the future sessions. Let's go step by step. Let's make our foundation clear, basics clear, then we'll go ahead. God knows that we will make mistakes. Why he will not control before we make them? Beautiful question. The question is coming here in the chat. Yeah, so we make mistakes. Like some thief is there and he's going to steal, or a murderer is there, he is planning to murder. And why doesn't God stop him? So there's the point. Very beautiful point. So why God doesn't stop? Because God doesn't force us. God doesn't force us to do what he wants. If the child is adamant, sometimes parents leave him. Sometimes parents say, chocolate mat khao, don't eat chocolate, your teeth will fall. Already 5 have fallen, 1 more will fall, don't eat. But if the child is still adamant, they will say, okay, you want to eat chocolate, you eat. All your 32 teeth will be gone. And they'll scold him and leave him. Isn't it? So they are not happy he eating chocolates. But still, if the child is adamant, parents also, they sometimes allow him. Isn't it? So, but later he will realize, so parents had told me I should not have eaten. See, all my teeth have gone. It's so much paining. I cannot eat properly. And I saw one child who just maybe 8 years old. All front teeth are decayed. So a lot of chocolates he was eating. It's a lot of pain. If you give him ice cream, he says, no, I don't want to eat. Because he cannot eat. It pains. So similarly, God also, he says, don't do it, don't do it. But if still the person is adamant, he says, okay, do it, but you will suffer. He sanctions it with a warning, right? See, whenever a person wants to do some bad activity, a voice in the heart says, don't do, it's bad for you, right? How many of you have got this experience? And before doing something bad, some voice says, hey, don't do this. Yeah, yes, some people are raising their hands. So that's called consciousness. That is God's voice telling us don't do it. That's our conscience. Yeah, that's called gut feeling also. Correct. And after doing that sinful activity, one feels bad. One feels guilty. He keeps his hand in the head and says, why did I do it? I should not have done it. And that guilt feeling is there. So that guilt feeling is also given by the Lord. So initially that conscience is given by the Lord only. Don't do it. And even if we ignore that voice, and if we still commit sinful activity, and God makes us feel guilty, you did wrong, so you'll be unhappy now. So that guilt feeling causes unhappiness. So that guilt is also given by the Lord. So Lord will not stop us from doing sinful activities. He wants us to reform ourselves. Okay, and if you do something wrong, then he will give guilt feeling and punishment. So that's the answer. Alex is writing, I agree that there is some power exists, but that power has no entity. I mean, that Vishnu, Shiva, yes, that question is there. Who is that powerful entity? That we'll discuss soon. Right? Everything cannot be covered in one session. So today we're just sticking to the point that can we accept the presence of a great creator behind everything? And what is the position of Krishna, Vishnu, Shiva, Durga, Ganesha, Hanuman, Allah, Christ? We'll take everything and we'll analyze them. Already in the previous batch, we did it. It was a very beautiful discussion. So we'll see it soon. Yeah. There's one question coming here. Prabhuji, some people donate organs after death. Do we get karma for that? Yeah, this is related to law of karma. I can give a brief answer now. Yes. When person donates organ to others, then one gets karma depending upon how that person uses that organ. And if a person gets a kidney or something and he becomes healthy, and if he does sinful activities, then we also become part of those sinful activities because we gave our body part to him, right? So when we are donating an organ to somebody, we should know to whom we are donating and for what purpose, right? So we should know the recipient of the organ, so then we can give, right? Why doesn't God show himself or herself? Wouldn't it be better for me to believe in something that I can feel and perceive? Yeah. So why doesn't God show himself or herself? Actually, we have to become qualified to see God. Then only he can show us. So now can I see Mr. Trump or Mr. Modi? It's not possible because he is a very great person. But we are all tiny people. To meet him, we have to wait for 1 year, take appointment, or we should do something exceptionally great work. Then they will call us and meet us, and they'll give Padma Bhushan, Bharat Ratna awards. Isn't it? Similarly, what is my adhikar to see the Lord? What great thing have I done that I'll see God? Right? There was one person in the West. He was challenging God does not exist, and he said, "I'll prove it today." So he went and stood on a road in between the road. It's like we have this circles, right? In the circles, in one of the circles he stood, and he gathered so many people, and he said, "So if God exists, then I will count 10, and by the time I count 10, if He does not come, then God does not exist." Then he started telling 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And I said, God does not come. Where is God? Where is God? Where is God? And he said, see, God does not exist. If God is there, then he should prove his presence by coming here. But our question is, what is your qualification to call God that God has to come in front of you? Right? Are you such a great personality that God has to obey your command? Get lost. Right? God is very great. Why should he come in front of you? And only those people who have love, premanjana churita bhakti viloshanena, those who have love in their eyes, only they can see the form of the Lord, not everybody. And we, in the initial stages, we see Lord indirectly by his energies in this nature. By seeing his energies, we can understand the presence of the Lord. Okay, so that's what we can answer this question. So we should become qualified to see the Lord, then only we can see. Another person is asking, but soul doesn't own the body, right? And how the organs donated will get karma? Because the soul is donating, right? The body is under the care of, like my body or your body, right now is under the care of the soul, is a caretaker. Just like you are owning a home, the home is under your care. As long as you live there, you have to take care of it. Similarly, as long as I am there in this body, I have to take care of this body. And the organs which I have got because of my past karma, right? And if I give it to somebody else and if it is misused, then I may share part of the karma of the other person, right? So when we donate any organ, then we can ensure that that person is leading a pure life. He is not misusing his life. That's the point. Okay. Thank you so much for your wonderful questions. So tomorrow we'll continue this topic and we'll discuss more what Einstein says, what Schrodinger says, what Kelvin says, what Ramanujan says, what Newton says about this, and also what about the universal government. We'll hear from them, the great scientists, about this point. Interesting question is coming. If I donate an organ, my soul won't get another body till that person dies. No, because you have donated part of the body, so it should not be a serious problem. So if you die, then you will get another body. Based on your activities, you will go to the next body. Yes, so you will get a next body, surely. Because only part of the body is gone there. Only thing, we should not have attachment to that part of the body. If you are attached to that part of the body, though that's my part of my body, then that attachment will keep us here. So that's the point. Okay, so thank you so much for your wonderful participation, and our volunteers will be uploading the recording of this video also on the YouTube channel. And if you want to connect some of your friends, you can connect them through the YouTube channel, or you can invite them here also on Zoom for these sessions. And I'll be sending a quiz for today's session also, just 5 questions, very simple, just for revision. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll end here, and we'll meet you tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. And also on Sunday, we'll be having Sundays we'll be having a different session. Sunday, instead of this Gita class, there will be a Prerna festival at 6:30 to 8. And this week's topic is Kirtan Yoga. It's a very beautiful topic. So you can come for that session and attend that session by Amit More, Amal Kirtan Das. He's a very beautiful singer and Kirtaniya. So you can have a nice musical evening with him on Sunday evening. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. We'll meet again tomorrow. Some questions are coming in the chat box. You can reserve it for tomorrow. We'll answer them tomorrow. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.